Welcome to the Porecast. I'm your host, Carly Harmson. As a licensed master esthetician with nearly 2 decades of experience, I feel confident to meet you here every week to educate about the latest trends and must-have products, as well as to decode the science and demystify the overwhelming world of skincare. Whether you're a wide-eyed, curious beginner or you're a veteran skincare pro, this is the podcast for you. So grab your favorite face mask and discover with me someone who's not only a skincare guru, but also a card-carrying member of Skincare Obsessed, just like you. Get ready for this episode of the podcast, starting now. Welcome back. If you're returning and joining me again, I thank you so much. If you're new here, if this is your first time, welcome. We are going to cover a lot today. It is a part 2 of a 2-part episode, so you may want to go back to part 1 before we begin. Just a friendly reminder, though, to go to my Instagram at The Real Besthetician. That's TheRealBestTician. It's there that I'm hosting a March Madness Skin Edition, and we're heading into week 2 with voting for the top 16 skincare products voted on by my community there. And let me just tell you, they're a pretty savvy bunch. So show up in my stories on Friday, March 15th to get your vote counted. Okay, if you are like me, then you've anxiously been awaiting the second part of this 2-part episode, the Retinol Revolution, where I dive into all things retinol. Today, we'll be continuing that conversation, beginning with discussing formulas, concentrations, and we'll head into types of retinoids as well, and best practices for use. Again, if you haven't listened to part 1 of Retinol Revolution, I strongly urge you to go back to episode 10 so you have all the groundwork laid out and are ready to roll on this episode. I want to kick off this episode by talking about what general retinoid treatments are out there, and there are a lot. But instead of talking about specific products, I do want to talk about actual ingredients, the various forms of vitamin A that are available in various types of products. And for the most part, we are going to get our retinol or retinoid fix with a home use product, something like a retinoid treatment at night, perhaps picked up by your local drugstore or your spa, or a prescription gel or cream prescribed to you by your dermatologist. While it should come with clear instructions for use, it may not be as detailed as I would hope, but don't you worry your press shelf, I've got you. I'll get into that more towards the end of the episode, where I will talk about best practices and how to incorporate a retinoid successfully into a routine. But really, the magic happens at home, which I love so much. While you can receive a vitamin A peel in some estheticians' treatment rooms or med spas, it's not as common as like a glycolic peel, for example. So working into a home care routine is where it's at, and it does require just a bit of diligence. A commitment of consistent use for 3 to 6 months is sufficient to really reap the rewards, with ultimate transformation in the 6 to 12 month range. I heard on a podcast a while ago, it's been some time, of a doctor citing a survey they professionally conducted in North America of about 6,000 people, I want to say, which I couldn't find online, the study, or couldn't recall the podcast, so sorry about that. But I did capture these numbers. So 6,000 people, and 80% of them have heard of retinol and are somewhat aware of the benefits of retinol. The survey further concluded that of those 4,800 people, the 80% familiar with retinol or RET or TRET, 1/2 of them have tried it, and half of those 2,400 women used it for less than 1 month, with 8 out of 10 of those, where are we at now? 1,200, 8 out of 10 agreed that they did not use it daily, and only 2 out of 10, or 20% of those 1,200, continued use after several months. This seems staggering, but it's actually consistent with my experience out in the field. Many who stop even though we know the benefits of this treatment or we know the potential to benefits of this treatment. So why? Why are people not continuing and not being consistent? Because retinol only works if it's used regularly, consistently. Well, I will give you a spoiler alert. It does have something to do with types of products used, concentrations, and how frequently initially. Finding the appropriate type of vitamin a formula, a concentration, they're all important to get started. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before I dive into those details, I want to mention just a few quirks. Vitamin A derivatives topically, you maybe didn't know. One, typically retinoids degrade with light and air. So when choosing a retinol treatment, packaging is important. We want to look for retinol products that are sold in opaque, airless, or air restrictive packaging. Also, slugging or basting, which is another TikTok viral trend reminiscent of slugging, over retinol might be appropriate if one has more resilient skin to keep the vitamin A more active, although this move's not for many. Two, this should typically be used in the PM because of its degradation by light. Three, in topical use, retinol and its sister forms can be acquired by natural or synthetic sources. Four, retinol is notoriously an unstable girly. I can relate. And needs some support from ingredients like vitamin E, liposomes, parabens. Five, the skin is retinoid ready with a lot of vitamin A, specifically an ester form known as retinol palmitate, found abundantly in the skin. Six, are we on six? Only a small amount of retinoic acid, the prescription strength known to be the pure form of vitamin A, and also the most irritating is actually found in the skin. So very little is actually found there. Seven, provitamin A, also known as beta carotene, can result in a warm yellow or orange tint to the skin. In fact, I've seen recently a new product that is touted as giving a natural bronze, and it looks to be just a concentrated beta carotene supplement. I remember I had a teacher in middle school who drank carrot juice every single day, and he did have an orange tint to his fair skin. So this is real. I've actually seen this before. Eight, retinol esters are known as storage forms of retinol and are much more tolerable and stable, though some critics may say not as effective. Nine, water present in the skin might drive retinol into the skin faster, creating more irritation. And 10, retinoids is a catchphrase or an umbrella term for all of the vitamin A derivatives, which we're going to break down today. Okay, are you ready to get technical? You ready to geek out with me? A reminder from part one of the retinol revolution, vitamin A is best for the two A's. So what was that? Aging and acne. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am a geek, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. I'm a skincare pro that's absolutely obsessed with skincare, cosmetic chemistry, formulation, and I've done a lot of self-study over 20 years. All right, there are many forms of vitamin A, but the ones most commonly used in skincare, and I'm going to list them in no particular order, are retinol, the alcohol form, retinoic acid, the active form, some people will call it a bioavailable form, retinaldehyde, which is the aldehyde form and also is the longer name for retinol, retinol palmitate, and retinol acetate, which are the ester forms. If we look at retinoids in a hierarchical way, the first three being retinol esters, retinol, and retinaldehyde or retinal, keeping up, these are all available over the counter. The fourth, retinoic acid, remember the active form of vitamin A, is available mostly in the US by prescription only. So let's break down each one, beginning with the esters. So this will be retinol, that's RETINYL, palmitate, and retinol acetate. These are the most common form of ester forms of retinol, and they work by converting into retinol through enzymatic processes once they are in the skin. So this can make them the least potent, but they're also considered the most stable, they're very gentle, they're easily affordable and accessible in skincare. So you'll see it a lot in formulation. Because of that conversion process, they're much more tolerated, making this an ideal type of retinoid for beginners or more sensitive skin or sensitized skin. Remember, concentration will play a role here too. Next up is retinol. While we use the word retinol to encompass all forms of vitamin A, where we should maybe actually be seeing retinoids, retinol is a specific form of vitamin A and it's used in skincare too. As mentioned previously, it's more unstable and therefore takes a little finesse to formulate, but retinol is more potent than the esters. In the skin, retinol still needs to convert twice from retinol to retinol or retinaldehyde, and then from retinal to retinoic acid to get down to its active form. Because of this, it can be irritating to some and should be reserved for intermediate retinoid users. Retinaldehyde, aka retinol, that's AL, Retinal. This is the strongest of the over the counter options available by professional esthetician, department store, and even some drugstore products. One step closer to retinoic acid, this is not for everyone and is ideal for skin conditioned to retinoids or more thick, resilient aged skins. In spite of this, retinaldehyde is gentler than prescription strength retinoic acid, which you might know and heard of as Retin-A or Renova from a dermatologist. Generally, over the counter retinoids vary in strength from 0.25% to 1%. And if you notice one of these ingredient names on an ingredient deck and it's not considered a retinol product, it's probably there for its antioxidant benefits and is less than the therapeutic 0.25% or more. I see this more commonly with the esters, retinol palmitate and retinol acetate. Now, this is niche, so I didn't mention it as being part of the big 4As, but there is a newer category of retinoids known as retinoic esters, different from retinol esters. So you may have heard of Grand Active Retinol, which was made popular by The Ordinary, Proven Skincare, but it's popping up in other skincare products too. This is considered a synthetic retinol ester that converts to both retinol and retinoic acid, thus the category of retinoic esters. And it's being touted as a next gen retinoid product or ingredient that is claimed to be as effective as retinol and retinoic acid, but with much less side effects. It's almost like instant and delayed results or instant and time released results, theoretically. While I haven't personally tried it, it is certainly interesting to me. Now, the big kahuna, retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is the most potent form of topical vitamin A. It is immediately biologically active on the skin because it does not need to convert to be usable, unlike the other forms that we've talked about. It gets to work right away to transform the skin. Much of the science that's been done on topically used vitamin A has been done on this form. It's truly the gold standard of aging and acne skincare. And many of those benefits that I shared back in part 1 are based on studies on this form of vitamin A. Remember, all forms will eventually convert to it, but in the prescription form, it's immediately available. But with great results comes great responsibility. In other words, if one was to get a retinol redness or retinol burn, it'd likely be from this pure form of vitamin A. Let's chat a moment about each of these RX treatments in more detail, but please know this is not an exhaustive list, but rather a feature on the more common of prescription retinoid treatments. First, I'd like to start with adapalene. This is a treatment gel actually available now in over-the-counter prescriptions at its lowest strength, 0.1%, as well as prescription strength that is ideal more specifically for moderate acne-prone skin. The prescription version at 0.3% is known as Differin gel and is commonly prescribed by derms for their acne patients. Another alternative to Differin that is prescription is Tazarotene. The trade name is known as Tazarac, available in concentration between 0.5% and 0.1%. It's also primarily prescribed for acne as well as some psoriasis cases. Finally, the tried and true mighty tretinoin, aka Retin-A or Renova. With Retin-A, it's a wonderful treatment for both aging and acne, and Renova more specifically targeting aging skin. It varies in concentrations from 0.025%, 0.05% up to 0.1%. Many different patients can do well with these treatments, assuming they work their way into use. Because this is the most powerful of both over the counter and prescription retinoids, it can come with the most side effects, so special care should be taken when incorporating the treatment. Okay, this is important. These percentages are not made equal. For example, a 1%, a full 1% retinol, over the counter retinol product, and a 0.1% tretinoin, which is the strongest of tretinoin, are not equivalent. My experience says, so take this or leave it. It's just my experience. But I would say a 1% retinol treatment would be equivalent to like a 0.025% tretinoin. Don't take it as gospel. With that in mind, people should cross over from over the counter to prescription carefully. Also, complete and finished formulas matter. Everything from concentration to penetration to delivery to skin technology like encapsulation makes a difference in the final outcomes, which makes results vary from brand to brand, concentration to concentration. A quick mention about isotretinoin, commonly known as Accutane. This is an oral form of retinoic acid that's available by prescription only, so it's a pill to treat the most severe forms of acne. It works by reducing oil gland size and oil gland or sebaceous production, knocking out one of the main contributors to acne. It's usually given in a 6 to 12 month treatment plan and requires monthly blood testing for safety. Side effects can be severe with dry skin, eyes, nose, and lips. There are some toxicity concerns for the liver and also some risks associated, like fetal deformities if one takes it while pregnant, and mental health implications too, like severe depression and more. With that being said, it has a high success rate at clearing acne permanently and has changed people's lives. So I don't discount it as a treatment, but from my perspective, it should be looked to as possibly a last resort after some of these other modalities or therapies or even prescriptions are utilized. All right, that was a lot, but I'm not quite finished yet. I want to talk about retinol alternatives, or what I like to call fondly retinolts. So, beta carotene, also known as provitamin A in skincare, may be touted as a retinol alternative because it is the precursor to retinol esters. There is still a controversy about the presence in the skin of the enzymes necessary to convert beta carotene to vitamin A, retinol. Although a recent study demonstrated the conversion of beta carotene into retinol in human cultured epidermal cells. So, hopefully, more information to come there. We do know that provitamin A is a great protectant against UV radiation, i.e., sun damage, and it can work effectively as an antioxidant too. So, hello, anti aging. Other retinols include forms of algae, carrot seed oil, and most notably bakuchiol. Bakuchiol, which is derived from the bobchi plant, has amazing antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. It also appears bakuchiol activates the collagen fibroblasts, much like retinol does. A small study in the British Journal of Dermatology found bakuchiol to be just as effective at erasing, I always hesitate to use that word, so I'm going to say reducing the appearance of fine lines and improving skin tone or color like retinol does, but with no side effects. However, more research still needs to be done to see if it can truly stand up to retinoids in its results. Do keep in mind that because this treatment is non-keratolytic, it is not going to make a lick of difference for acne. It is safe for everyone and is not contraindicated to pregnancy or nursing, making it a good addition to any anti-aging routine. If acne is a problem, though, you are better off with a retinoid. Or you can certainly combine bakuchiol with a traditional retinoid. All right, now that we've covered the technical stuff, let's get into the use of retinoids. There are some retinoid besties or perfect pairings that should be incorporated into a good retinol routine. The ultimate anti aging trifecta, the holy trinity, if you will, I hope I don't get canceled for that, is vitamin C or another potent antioxidant in the AM, retinoid in the PM, and SPF every day. Even better if you can work on some barrier support with nourishing ingredients that I'll talk about in a minute. That's chef's kiss. These three treatments, though, are sure to make your skin younger than your friends. And in my opinion, it's the best place to start when building an anti aging routine. Now, a reminder, not everybody needs retinoids. So if you want to learn more about that and you haven't listened to part one of this two-part episode, go back to part one. Other ingredients that can be paired for aging skin: hydroxy acids like azelaic acid, lactic acid, or glycolic acid. As we discussed in part one, retinoids do not thin the skin. We may need some support up top if we aren't naturally sloughing those dead skin cells off. You may have heard of skin cycling. This is addressing that exactly and is a trendy term discussing how to use AHAs with ret or tret at night while giving a couple nights to recover too. I talk about this more in episode 8, Skinfluenced. While most all hydroxy acids can be incorporated into a routine with retinoids, I do take pause on salicylic acid. It's not to say it can't be used, but utmost care must be taken because it is also a keratolytic, as is benzoyl peroxide. So I would say for the most part, these two ingredients don't play as nice with retinoids. Peptides and growth factors. For collagen promotion, there's nothing better than vitamin C, retinoid, a peptide treatment, and growth factors. This is the ultimate in lifting, firming, and reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. For acne, retinoids with niacinamide is a perfect pairing for the pores. Niacinamide, while active, targets the sebum production, but it does not create more sensitivity generally. Niacinamide is also a great pairing for aging skin and skin with hyperpigmentation, as it promotes oxygenation and inhibits the formation of hyperactive melanin. For sensitive skin, choosing a gentler retinoid, like a retinol ester, as we talked about, something like retinol palmitate or retinol acetate, and then include ingredients like ceramides or hyaluronic acid to support that moisture barrier, can be a lovely pairing too. Finally, I want to share a few pro tips or best practices of retinoid use. First, and most importantly, go low and slow with a retinoid treatment for the first time. It's human nature to think that stronger formulas more frequently will deliver more results, and that's just not true in most skincare treatments, but it's definitely not the case for vitamin A treatments. If we can achieve results with little to no side effects, that is ideal. So let me illustrate how this might look. Let's say you're a client of mine that is ready for retinoid. Woo! You're one of the two A's. I have 3 concentrations available in home care for my clients of a retinaldehyde formula. So let's say I'm going to start you on my lowest dose at 0.3% or maybe the mid range at 0.5%, depending on your skin resilience. And I'm going to suggest you work your way into regular or maybe even nightly use. And we might eventually work up to the top concentration of 1% in that formula eventually. This leads me to the second tip: ramp up retinol. Ramp up retinol. Begin your treatment by using it every third night. And remember, retinoids for the most part should only be used at night because of the degradation by light that can take place. So do this for 2 weeks or so, then increase to every other night. Do this for a few weeks. And if no side effects, move to every night. I've heard some describe this ramp up process as the rule of thirds. So month 1, use every 3 nights. Month 2, use every other night. Month 3, use every single night. By doing either ramp up program, you are mitigating potential side effects that might stop you dead in your tracks with your retinol journey. Or if you're listening and you're an esthetician, might stop your clients in their tracks with their retinol journey. And the last thing we want to do is recommend a product that the client just won't use because they weren't coached properly to help mitigate those side effects. Tip 3, a lower to mid concentration used more regularly is more effective than a strong concentration used occasionally. Consistency over intensity. Get it tattooed on you so you don't forget. Consistency over intensity. Tip 4 is use just a small amount. Again, more is not better in volume of product. A small amount will go a long way. So, a good rule of thumb for retinol dispensing is a pea sized amount, whether you're squeezing it out of a tube or pumping with an airless pump. This measurement seems to be right on with most formulas. Also suggested is to take the pea size amount on your pointer fingertips, smash it with your other pointer finger, and then using your fingers, place dots evenly around your face. Then you'll rub gently into skin until the product is evenly applied. With that said, tip 5 is to apply on dry skin at night. In the age of skin flooding and the never ending quest for glossy skin, it might be tempting to apply over your favorite hydrating essence. And while that type of product may be used in a nighttime routine with a retinoid, it should be totally absorbed into the skin before applying retinoids. Why? Because water or water like ingredients can create little micro hydration channels into the skin and almost deliver the vitamin A more intensely into the skin, thus increasing irritation or risk of negative side effects or reactions. You may have heard of skin sandwiching, which is also an option, but instead of water or water like ingredients, it's prepping the skin with a more emollient texture, like a moisturizer, before and after the retinoid is applied. This essentially buffers the A so it's not as strong and can potentially mitigate some side effects too. Last but not least, take great care with applying around the eye area and around the mouth. Both are extra sensitive because of that movement that's constantly happening in those areas, thanks to those big round muscles, the orbicularis oris and orbicularis oculi. This area can really flake and peel. And if I've seen retinol wreak havoc on someone, it's usually in these areas. While there are eye and lip treatments specifically with retinol, those are formulated specifically for those areas that are prone to retinoid irritation. So I'd much prefer them over taking your tret up into the eye area or around the lips. All right, my friends, that's about it on the A team, if you will. We covered so much in these two parts, like how retinoids work and all the various forms of vitamin A in skincare, contraindications, benefits, and so much more. So I hope you were able to learn a few things, and feel free to always come back here to be refreshed on this all important vitamin A ingredient. I look forward to meeting you right back here, same time, same place. See you next week. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Porecast. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with a bestie or on your socials. And if you love the episode, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Your positive feedback means so much to me. You can connect with me at The Real Besthetician on Instagram or The Besthetician anywhere else. And hey babe, this week's podcast looks like clear with a chance of glow. See you next time.